can you just give a brief bio about yourself?
Yeah, so what brought me to public attention was a project I created in 2006 called Running Raw. I was a vegan starting in 1997, 98, and had some pretty significant health transformations eating a vegan diet, but came down with chronic fatigue syndrome around 2004, was encouraged to switch over to a raw vegan diet by quite a few people I was interacting with at the restaurant I worked at, a vegan restaurant in Los Angeles. There were a lot of raw foodists that would come in for our salads. And after a lot of coaxing, I tried a raw diet, and within a week I felt better. And I thought, wow, this is just too good to be true. Let me keep going for a little while longer. And the longer I stayed on the diet, the better I felt. And after a year, my body transformed. It was really kind of an interesting experience, especially now looking back, because who I am as a thinker, especially as a critical thinker, has changed a great deal. So when I go back and I look at that guy at that period of time, I'm still amazed at how big of a transformation it was. So I thought the world needs to know about this. If I can change my body, change my health experience in such a profound way, simply by changing my diet, I think it's important that people hear about this. But at that time, there weren't a lot of raw foodists. Many of them were in the spiritual community or more of an alternative community. And I wanted to reach everybody. I wanted to reach my family. I wanted to reach people that are considered standard Americans. So I thought, what is a metric? What is some way that I can measure my change on a scale that they can relate to, that they'll understand? And so I started running just as an experiment. First of all, can I run? I was a runner in high school and a little bit in college, and I was okay, but I hadn't run since. And at that time, I think I was 37 or 38. And I started running and pretty quickly found that I had this running ability that was quite surprising. So I started competing in races and documenting it, going up on YouTube. I was one of the first people up on YouTube back in 2006. And I've been on this journey ever since of being an athlete, demonstrating what's possible on a plant-based diet, learning a crap load about physiology and biochemistry along the way, which led me to learn about neuroscience and psychology and Buddhism. And because on this journey, I dealt with depression, something that's been with me since I was a teenager and never quite knew what to do with. Didn't know how to manage it or deal with it. And being an athlete who represents a group of people, trying to do well for that group, be a good representative, depression was getting in the way. It was stopping me from training. It was stopping me from doing the work that I needed to do. So I really started investigating the psychological aspects of human experience, and just opened up a whole can of worms that has completely changed my life in a way far bigger than diet ever did. So now I primarily deal with human psychology, human experience. Diet and exercise is definitely a part of what I do, and I'm still an athlete. But mainly I help people take steps now. I help people make changes that feel right to them rather than telling them what changes they need to make. So it's transformed a great deal. I'm no longer a raw foodist. I am still plant-based. I'm still vegan, but I do cook grains, rice, oats, potatoes, vegetables, things like that. So I've expanded my diet, and I don't see a reason not to do that at this point. Raw foodism is more of an ideology than it is a diet, and I'm not so much interested in ideology, just performing well, being well, feeling well. Another thing that people often, a nutshell that people put me into, they call me the raw runner, still, more than a decade later. And I'm still a runner and I'm still an athlete, but that's not who I am. It's simply what I do to demonstrate the power of these tools that I work with. So one of the ways that I try to increase the viability or the credibility of my brand is I go after big national titles. So at this point, I've won 17 U.S. titles for Masters, which is 40 and over. I have 4 U.S. Runner of the Year awards for Masters, 40 and over. I have an American record, which I set last year in the mile for 50 and over. So I've been trying to demonstrate that, okay, this isn't just a guy who talks. This is a guy who walks the talk. And it's not about personal recognition. It's simply about getting people interested in the tools that I have to share. How do you do that? You perform well. And you perform well in an arena that is measured and widely visible. I can't lie about this. I can't hide it. It's for all to see. So I have to measure up. And that requires that I work with a pretty intense toolkit. So as a coach now, I help people do extraordinary things if that's what they want to do, or I help them do really simple things on the way to doing extraordinary things. So that's a very large nutshell, but that's kind of where I am today.